Hey guys, it's Todd from Like-Minded Lunatics bringing you another Drink, Play, Swear. It's all we do around here. It's all we were forged in the fires of Mount Doom to do around here. Glad you're with us. If you haven't done so yet, please hit that subscribe button. Mark's got a little button down there at the bottom right for you to hit to show that you're a part of a group of an unlikely band of weirdos that likes all the same stuff or many of the same things. Not just the Drink, Play, Swears here, but lots of other stuff for you to check out. Playlists on the channel. My favorite, the Friday night videos, music videos done by my writer and good friend, Mark Gifford. You can check those out up there. The Friday night videos, as I've said many times before, the crown jewel of the Like-Minded Lunatics. Crown of Doom. I don't know. Okay, so you can see the game we're going to play. Hey, man, this one actually is kind of new to me. I often play games that I've played a lot over the years. But this one I have only played just a couple of times, and I got to the third level, had a blast, and then realized I wanted to show you guys. So this is Major Havok, and guess what? It's from the Atari. That's right, the Atari. We haven't talked about the Atari too much, have we? Well, I told you that story about when I got my first Nintendo. It was the very first Drink, Play, Swear. You can check that out there. I'm going to have to say it's probably one of the better ones on the channel. Better than this story. Just kidding. Don't change the thing. Don't change the thing. Okay, if you're not from around these parts, in Drink, Play, Swear, we do just that. We play a game, usually a classic one. We pair it with a beverage, and then I tell you a story. Today, we've got a classic here in Major Havok from Atari in 1983, and we got a Jim Beam and Coke. So get yourself something, alcoholic or otherwise. Let's sit down and play a fun game together, and I'll tell you a story. Crisp. Crisp is what that is. Here we go. Yeah, as far as I know, this game was never on it. It's a loud game. But listen to this great sound for a second. Mark, if you can just let them dwell on that for a sec. Notice I'm playing Super Breakout. This game is kind of genius. And for those who don't know it, that's really why I wanted to show it off today. It's like a few games in one. So it's a space shooter. And the storyline loosely is that there's this, it's sort of a ripoff of Star Wars. There's this evil empire. Actually, it's sort of a ripoff of Mandalorian before Mandalorian. There's this evil empire that has been defeated. And the good guys are now going around and trying to, get rid of all the old junk from that old bad guy. And so the point of this game is, now that they're not in charge anymore, is you fly around and you blow up old space stations from the previous administration. So, but here, look, you're in between levels, you're doing like a mini game of Super Breakout, and then you come out of the gate here with this fun shooter, reminiscent of Galaga and all those other greats. Then you have to land this thing yourself here. You see? And then it becomes this fun platformer, 2D platformer. Really challenging because they treat it like the gravity is weird. So when you jump, you sort of jump in slow motion, so you really have to time these things. So it looks easy. That's why I'm bad at it. It looks easy, but it's much harder than it. And look at this guy. Look at this guy looking bored with me. Sonic does that later. You know what, dude? What I want to do is I just want to sit here and let you be upset. Go ahead. You're the one in danger. I'm a 39-year-old man playing video games in the actual future, Mr. 1983. All right. What do I want to talk about today? I actually want to tell you a story from a birthday of mine a couple of years ago. So a more recent one than a lot of the stories I've told on here. I tend to tell stories from my youth or from my days in New York as a college student, but I'm going to do a more recent one here today because it's been on my mind. So a few years ago, now what happened? I ran out of oxygen. That's the first time that's happened to me. The timer goes down there. You got to either pick up O2 or get out fast, and I didn't get out fast enough. But look at this. This was the level I wanted to show you. Isn't this rad? You know, this did not come out for any of the consoles, so this was one of those games you were playing in the arcade. And it shows, doesn't it? It's a big, loud game, and this part reminds me a lot of that classic Star Wars arcade game where you had to take out the Death Star. Man, it's pretty, it's weird, and it's fun. All right, so my birthday for you. I have 2 kids. I don't know how much you're aware of that in these stories, but I've got a 9-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son. He's almost 4, and so as you can expect, even before COVID, I wasn't really going out much anymore, right? You know, call it what you will, being a family man or just being around for your kids. Don't go out as much, don't go out too much. And so a birthday celebration, when you get older like that, is more minor. And so for my birthday, my wife and I had planned just to go see a movie together, which is my favorite thing, is to go to the theater. To go to the theater, you know, sit in a dark room with delicious food. I don't know if you have these around you, but we're lucky enough to have Alamo Draft Houses and other places like it where you can order, you know, actual good food and order beers and stuff and have kind of a night, even if it's a shortened night. So we would go. My wife and I would go and go to these places and watch a movie and have a meal. And so that's what we did that night. And we didn't, you know, we weren't going to be out late or anything. I think we probably caught a 7 o'clock movie and we're home by 9 or 10. So we go see the movie, and I'll tell you the movie we saw in a minute. That's kind of a related but separate story. Is that we saw this movie, and then we left and we were headed home to relieve the babysitter and put the kids to bed. And, oh, geez. I told you the gravity's weird on this one. It's challenging. So, get in the car and start driving home after this movie. Now, this is one of those theaters that does sell alcohol. So I had 2 beers. Probably should have done a beer with today's video, but whatever. You can have what you want. I'd had 2 beers because they sell beer there. So I'd had my 2 beers, and we're driving home and telling stories. And the movie we had seen was very provocative and very interesting, and we were talking about it quite a bit. Ooh, I knew I was going to get smoked, but it was my only chance there. And I get myself pulled over, okay. Well, I am a little bit of a lead foot, and I was going 45 and a 30. But I would contend that it was a newish car, and you know, if you don't know a car very well, you don't really always know how fast you're going. It's a smooth ride. I was going too fast. I wouldn't be in nuts, you know, with the driving, but I was going 45 and a 30. Got myself pulled over. Well, it's not the end of the world. Obviously, I'm not excited about a ticket, but, you know, it's fine. So the cop comes up to the car. And, you know, the basic, he wants my license and my proof of insurance. And I give it to him. He's polite but terse. He, you know, he's not having a great day, probably. But he's not aggressive with me either. So, takes my information, and he goes to his car, and I assume he's looking up my record. Well, my record is squeaky clean. I'm what you call white bread, okay? Square, and you know, not much to my past in terms of getting in trouble. So it should probably be a quick thing, in and out, and either I'm getting a ticket or I'm not. And he's taking a while. So my wife and I are sitting there talking and everything. And then finally he comes back. And he comes back, and I take my information back from him. And he engages me in conversation. He says, "Sir, what you up to this evening?" And I said, well, you know, my wife and I just went to see a movie. at the quarry. Hey, guys, I've told stories about the quarry before from when I was a kid, and it was an abandoned cement factory. You can check that one out. But years later, now that I'm an adult, it's a nice shopping area with a theater. Anyway. So I tell the officer, yeah, so we did that. We saw the movie, and now I'm just heading back home, put the kids to bed, Not a big evening planned. He seems troubled by something, or he seems like he's wanting to sort of linger with us a little longer than maybe I thought was warranted. And finally, he spits it out. He says, "Mr. Wright, I'm going to tell you right now, I smell alcohol in the car. Have you had any alcohol?" No, he said, "Do you have any alcohol in the car with you here?" I said, "No, sir, I don't," which it was true. I didn't have any booze in the car. I said, No, sir, I don't have any alcohol in the car." He says, "Have you had any alcohol? Have you consumed any alcohol this evening?" I said, "Yes, sir, I can tell you that I had 2 beers at the movie, during the movie. They sell beer with the refreshments at the counter, and I had 2 of those." Which, I don't know where you're watching from, but that's usually still within the legal limit to drive. He still seems troubled. He says, "What do you do for a living?" And we go on and we continue to have a conversation. And finally he gets to it. And, I'm staying calm, but I'm starting to get a little bit nervous. Not that I have legally anything to worry about, but, this man has some authority over me here. He says, "Mr. Wright, I'm going to ask you one more question. I need you to be honest with me here." I said, "Okay." He said, "Are you under the legal limit for alcohol consumption tonight?" I said, "Yes, sir, I am." There was a pause. And then he said, "Thank you, sir. You get yourself home. Have a good night." Not a breathalyzer, not a ticket for the speeding, not a warning for the speeding. He was gone. I didn't have to get out of the car. Nothing. No record of this happening. And he leaves. Well, obviously I'm relieved in such a situation. But what I hadn't told you yet is what movie we were seeing. And we were seeing the critically acclaimed film, Get Out. And in it is highlighted what I think is just beautifully done, a combination of harsh realism and, horrific horror science fiction, in which, an African-American is... is made to fear for their lives. But over the course of this film, you see that regardless of the sci-fi horror stuff, that it is quite frightening sometimes to be African-American in this country. And the conversation that my wife and I had been engaged in before I got pulled over was, I said, I don't, I feel like I kind of now finally know what folks are saying when they talk about entitlement. And it is that I have never had to worry about if I was going to be okay just going someplace, or if I was going to be okay engaging in the police. And I promise I wouldn't lie to you about this. Almost 30 seconds after I said police to my wife, I got pulled over. And listen, I don't want to make it too political, and I don't, if you and I are opposed on this issue, I don't want it to keep us from being friends, but I will say that I didn't get a warning, I didn't get a ticket, I didn't have a breathalyzer test, I didn't have to go downtown. And I think a lot of it has to do with I was a white dude. I'm just saying. If you feel like the Black Lives Matter movement is an insult to you because you think it doesn't support police or it doesn't support your group, I would say that your group and the thing that you care about should also have its awareness made in the world. But hey, man, listen, my wife and I lived in New York. We lived up in Harlem before it was really gentrified. And I saw it all the time. One night, my wife and I are walking from the subway to our apartment, and a guy stops us and says, "Hey, man, could you go out to the street and hail a cab for me?" And he's African American. And I said, "Well, yeah, but why?" And he says, they're not stopping for me." Okay. So I go out to the street, just like that, raise my hand up, hail a cab. Cab stops for me right away. And when he says, "Where to?" And I'm still outside of the car, and this man and his sister get in. I guess his sister needed to get to the Bronx uptown quickly, and she wasn't feeling well, and the cabs weren't stopping for her. He says, "Where to?" And I says, "Wherever these folks need to go." And he's go, "Oh, whoa, no." He was not happy that these folks were getting the fare and not me. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. So I didn't mean to make it too serious today and too political, but I'm just saying there are inequities, and we got to be real about that, don't we? Don't we? We can disagree about how we deal with it, but please, let's just admit it. All right, a big, serious one here today, but in all honesty, this game is fun, and you should check it out. And, I am grateful that, of course, that I didn't have to go through all of the hardships that, I'm just saying, if I was a 16-year-old teenager in that car in a similar situation, wouldn't have been good for me that night. Hey, let's finish these off. After that story, let's drink some hard liquor. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're enjoying the content on the channel. In between now and the next time I see you, I'm Todd. See ya.